It's Friday, June 23rd, and this is now on HNN.
After they told him to drop whatever he had in his hands, then we heard the gunshot sounds.
A burglary suspect is shot and killed by police in an apparent barricade situation in Pearl City.
A federal judge sides with the government, preventing a Navy commander from being deposed in the Red Hill lawsuit.
For him to meet his fate down there is a tragic irony.
The 5 people on board the missing submersible remembered a day after the Coast Guard announced it had imploded. I'm Christina Hager with what's next for the investigation.
Saturday marks 1 year since the Supreme Court struck down Roe versus Wade. I'm Willie James Inman in Washington with details on new actions by President Biden and how Republicans are reacting.
These stories, plus thousands of Starbucks workers are on strike over Pride decor. Details coming up on This Is Now.
Aloha and good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here on This Is Now. I'm Dylan Ancheta alongside Ashley Nagaoka. We begin with the latest in the deadly barricade and shooting in the Pearl City area earlier this morning that prompted an all-out response from multiple emergency officials.
HPD confirms the suspect involved. The situation was shot and killed. EMS says the suspect was a man in his 30s. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Now, officers responded to a report of a burglary at a home on Kalauipo Street shortly after 4 a.m. Police, the Specialized Services Division, HFD, and EMS were all dispatched to the scene. At around 6:30, HFD says the incident changed to a 2-alarm building fire. Heavy black smoke was seen coming from the side of the 2-story home, and video sent to Hawaii News Now showed flames and gunshots being fired. Witnesses described the scene.
And then when we were maybe 2 hours later, they were still there. So when we were looking out the window, we could hear them talking on the megaphone, asking him to come outside of his house and to come out his front door. They started smoking out his house. And after about 10 minutes, the house caught on fire. And they started speaking to him directly, telling him to drop whatever it is that they saw in his hands. And then after that, I heard a bunch of gunshots. Really scary just because we have a lot of kupuna in our area, and I know it's overwhelming for them, and they get scared because this is a really heavy kupuna area, and especially with all the smoke and all the fire, it was kind of concerning for them.
Now, HPD has yet to release much official details into the incident. A news conference, though, is planned for sometime today. We are awaiting further details.
And of course, we will bring you that news conference on your HNN digital platforms when it happens. At this point, we're not yet sure of that time. But again, we are keeping a close eye on this. Now to our other top story. There is a new development in a major lawsuit over the Red Hill water crisis.
New at noon, the U.S. government has succeeded in preventing a high-ranking Navy commander from having to be deposed in a major lawsuit over the Red Hill tainted water crisis. Admiral Samuel Paparo, commander of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, is one of the Navy leaders at the center of the controversy. Today, a federal judge decided to quash his testimony. Attorneys suing the government for more than 400 plaintiffs wanted to question the commander, saying the government failed to warn them about the water and that Paparo played a pivotal role in the communications and remediation plan following the crisis. Paparo was recently nominated by Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin to be Chief of Naval Operations. That's the Navy's highest officer. The recommendation reportedly went to the White House, but President Biden has not signed it yet.
As the search and rescue effort for the missing submersible turns into a recovery operation, the 5 people on board are being remembered. Christina Hager has more.
Worshippers at a mosque in Pakistan held a special prayer for prominent businessman Shahzada Dawood and his 19-year-old son, Suleiman. They were among the 5 people on board the submersible that imploded on the way to the Titanic wreckage.
This was a catastrophic implosion of the vessel.
The Coast Guard announced the discovery of debris from OceanGate's Titan vessel Thursday after days of searching. Also on board, British billionaire Hamish Harding, OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush, and Titanic expert Paul-Henri Nargeolet.
For him to meet his fate down there is a tragic irony in my mind.
James Cameron, director of the movie Titanic and an underwater explorer himself, was friends with Nargeolet. Cameron joined the chorus of those questioning OceanGate's safety measures.
Clearly, corners were cut here, and people paid the price.
The incident is increasing scrutiny on the world of deep-sea exploration in general and OceanGate in particular. But OceanGate's co-founder is defending the company's CEO.
He was very keenly aware of the risks of operating in the deep ocean environment, and he was very committed to safety.
A U.S. Coast Guard official said Friday that the investigation into what happened will continue in the area where the debris was found. Christina Hager, CBS News, Boston.
Meanwhile, a Hawaii oceanographer weighed in on the tragedy with his insight. He says the expedition pitted human innovation against the unmatchable power of the ocean. Max Kremer is the director of the Ocean Technology Group at the University of Hawaii Marine Center and is highly experienced studying the deep sea. He says Titan's mission seems sketchy from the start.
One thing that I've learned is humility in the ocean. The ocean is the boss. And if you make mistakes, or if you don't want to do it right, it will find you out and it will punish you. That is just unfortunately the way it works.
The vessel's construction was a major point of concern. He called the Titan tragedy an aberration and hopes aspiring explorers learn from this.
Happening today, Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi will be signing the city's budget for the next fiscal year. The City Council approved the more than $3 billion budget earlier this month, which is set to focus on affordable housing, homelessness, community revitalization, and public safety. It includes a one-time tax rebate for eligible homeowners of $350. HPD will also see a significant boost in funding, up almost 14% to $354 million. The mayor will sign the budget at 1 p.m. It will go into effect on July 1st. Also set to take effect on July 1st, pay raises for the City Council and city leaders. Today is the deadline for council members to reject the increases, which would hike their pay 64% to $113,000 a year. 3 council members who are on record against the raises, Agi Talba, Andrea Tupola, and Radiant Cordero, had called for a special hearing to be held today on the plan, but the majority of members declined. Meanwhile, the mayor's pay will be bumped up 12.5% to nearly $210,000.
Thousands of Starbucks workers at 150 stores in the U.S. went on strike today. Starbucks Workers United, which represents the stores, says it's over the coffee chain's restriction of pride decorations. It claims Starbucks banned pride decorations in about 100 locations across parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri. Starbucks has denied the claim, saying it is not aware of any company-owned stores that have banned pride decorations. According to the company, store leaders are able to decorate stores as they wish for Pride and other heritage months as long as they adhere to safety guidelines. A Starbucks spokesperson said they, quote, unwaveringly support the LGBTQIA2+ community, and they're deeply concerned by the false information being spread.
Saturday marks the 2-year anniversary of the Surfside, Florida condo collapse that killed 98 people. A remembrance ceremony will be held tomorrow on the lawn across the street from where the Champlain Towers South partially collapsed. A temporary display containing items from the Wall of Hope Memorial will also be on display, and a ceremonial torch lighting will be held at 1:22 a.m., the same time the building collapsed 2 years ago. The cause of the collapse is still under investigation, but reports of poor construction and corrosion are being looked at as contributing factors. Meanwhile, a high-rise in Miami is paying tribute to the victims with a special light display. Last June, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, changing the landscape for abortion access in America. Now, as the country approaches the 1-year mark tomorrow, those on either side of the issue remain in a political fight. Willie James Inman has more from the White House.
President Biden is rallying with abortion rights groups, marking 1 year since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade.
President Biden and Vice President Harris stand with the majority of Americans who believe the right to choose is fundamental.
The president is using the occasion to issue a new executive order. The order strengthens access to birth control pills through the Affordable Care Act, Medicare, and Medicaid services. It also tries to ensure access to pills for veterans and service members through other federal programs.
Access to contraception has become more important than ever following the Supreme Court's decision and ensuing crisis for women's health.
Democrats see abortion rights as a critical issue to rally voters for the 2024 presidential election, and it remains a key issue for anti-abortion rights groups as well.
We will stand every day without apology for the unalienable right to life.
Former Vice President and 2024 presidential candidate Mike Pence dismissed the idea that abortion will hurt Republicans on the ballot.
The cause of life is the calling of our time, and we must not rest and must not relent until we restore the sanctity of life to the center of American law in every state in this country.
In a new CBS News poll, 57% of Americans surveyed said the overturn of Roe v. Wade has been mostly bad for the country.
The Supreme Court has rejected a Republican-led challenge to President Biden's immigration guidelines. In an 8-1 ruling, the court revived Biden's policy that prioritizes which non-citizens to deport. Two Republican state attorney generals from Texas and Louisiana had challenged that policy, saying it conflicted with immigration law. The court said they didn't have a right to sue in the first place, setting a precedent for states who challenge federal policies that they don't agree with. This latest challenge is part of an ongoing battle between Republican-led states and the Biden administration over immigration enforcement. Back here on Oahu, there's much excitement around the upcoming opening of Honolulu's new Skyline, but with that will come some adjusting. The launch of the Skyline means some popular bus routes are changing. Our Daryl Huff took a ride on the rail yesterday and has the details.
While the Skyline does its practice runs with test passengers like journalists today, Waipahu bus riders like Wyatt Ballesteros are waiting for their turn.
I think that could work out for positive. You don't have to sit through the traffic lights and whatnot, yeah.
To integrate Skyline between Aloha Stadium and East Kapolei, the city is changing many bus routes. Like Route A, many used between Waipahu and town, will now end at Pearl Ridge because it essentially duplicates the rail route.
The Waipahu bus riders will have to board Skyline, and they can transfer either at the Kalawao Pearl Ridge station or here at the Halawa Aloha Stadium station.
That was news to Alexandra Miguel.
I'm very surprised. I ride the bus every day. This is my basic transportation. Being told I'm gonna have to catch the bus here and get on the rail to go to town, that seems like double the work, and I probably have to get up extra earlier.
Aloha the bus riders.
The city has produced and posted detailed videos showing the route changes, too many to describe here. And with a holo card, the same fare will cover the entire commute. And on our test ride today, speeding above all traffic took just 22 minutes, including all stops between the stadium and the Kapolei Croc Center. One thing regular bus riders might appreciate is the fact that because there's so many rail cars, when they jump on the rail, they're virtually guaranteed a seat. The added seats provided by the rail also enabled the city to shift buses to feeder and express routes and match the intervals of the trains.
We've tried to design our connections thoughtfully at both ends of Skyline right now so that people can have a well-timed connection to the bus and to their final destination.
Veterans of other transit systems say Skyline feels comfortable and safe.
There certainly is nothing to worry about on it other than to say, does it get me where I really need to go? That's, of course, the big worry.
One thing that strikes me is the train's a little more wiggly than I thought. You could probably call this the Skyline hula. Okay, that's a bit exaggerated, but all in all, we had good news for Alexandra. Every 10 minutes.
Really? Well, I got worked up for nothing then. You should have started with that.
Reporting from Waipahu and above Waipahu, Daryl Huff, Hawaii News Now.
A first alert for Oahu drivers as the H3 will be fully closed for most of the day tomorrow. The shutdown is to allow for HECO crews to adjust power lines above the freeway along with other road maintenance work. The closure is scheduled from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Drivers should use the Like or Pali highways as alternate routes.
Let's go ahead and give you a live look outside. This is clearly not Hawaii, but it sure feels like Hawaii because so many people were there this week. Of course, this is Las Vegas. The Native Hawaiian Convention took place, and it was a big, successful event. But right now in Las Vegas, it is 3:15 p.m., rather not too bad, 88 degrees there. So, not your typical desert temperatures just yet. For more on your island weather, let's send things over to our Guy Hagi.
There will be a few showers, which will help with the water supply, help with the very brown conditions, because it is brown. Take a look at Diamond Head and Cocoa Head. So we could use the rain, and we will see some showers out there. But most of the showers for the next several days will be passing in nature and will be of the light variety. So don't expect a lot of rain, but don't be surprised by some showers coming in today, favoring those windward sides, occasionally drifting leeward, because of those breezy winds. Now, the breezy winds is a thing that's not going to change. They'll be holding firm all the way until Tuesday, even through Tuesday, lightening up, it looks like, temporarily on Wednesday. And again, one thing to notice is that we'll see fewer of those passing showers on Saturday and Sunday. And that means the brush fire threat could go higher because humidity levels will drop. And that's a bad combination. Even though it's going to be lovely, be aware of that. Now, the good news is that at least through the weekend, we're not expecting any cyclonic activity, although we are tracking that disturbance in the East Pacific. It will not pose a threat to us anytime soon.
Well, there are growing safety concerns around Oahu as people seem to be misusing bike lanes. Our Ben Gutierrez heard some of those concerns and has more.
You've heard the phrase, share the road, but there are some who believe that in places like this, there's some oversharing going on, and that's leading to a safety hazard. A viewer sent us this photo of morning joggers on Diamond Head Road, headed down the bike path in the wrong direction toward drivers headed up.
They ran into the sun, you can't see. And if I hit someone, likely I'm the one to blame.
And it's not just the joggers.
Strollers, grandma, grandpa, little kids, dogs, everybody's in them. It's meant for wheels, not paws and feet.
Palolo area resident Raymond Chong drives in the area and is a longtime runner and bicyclist himself.
They're just treating the road as the bike path actually as a footpath, which is a lot of people may not be aware that it's illegal.
That's according to state law, which says if a sidewalk is provided, pedestrians aren't supposed to use the roadway, including the bike path.
Do you see some situations where people are walking or jogging, and those certainly raise safety concerns?
Travis Council of the Hawaii Bicycling League says while the law may be black and white, there's some gray.
Might be an indicator of a larger, infrastructure challenge, either a narrow sidewalk or a lack of sidewalk, that you might see those people using the bike lane in that case.
On Diamond Head Road, there's a marked difference between the rough and uneven sidewalk and the much smoother roadway pavement. And other sidewalks in other neighborhoods may have driveways or curbs for pedestrians to navigate.
So the preferred route, albeit probably not the technical or the legal place they're supposed to be, they might choose to be in a bike lane or a multi-use path.
Those bike lanes are being used, according to the city. The protected bike lane on South King Street is averaging nearly 700 users a day, while newer lanes, like the one on McCully, is averaging about 250 daily users. And they're supposed to keep everyone safe if they know where they're supposed to be.
We share the road, but we got to do it common sense.
Ben Gutierrez, Hawaii News Now.
Share the road with some common sense. Wise words there.
Yes.
Time to go ahead and check out some news from the feeds. Now, yesterday marked 54 years since the death of entertainment icon Judy Garland. Now, as many celebrated her for playing iconic roles like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, a Minnesota town is remembering an actress who had a smaller part in the film.
Yeah, Boyd Hubbard tells us about the life of Hildred Olsen.
Highway 12 will never be mistaken for the yellow brick road. But in Dassel, Minnesota, both intersect.
This one right here.
Here at the modest stone,
Hildred Olsen,
to which curious visitors are pointed by cemetery caretaker Tom Nelson.
Basically, they just say, hey, I'm looking for the Munchkin's grave. Do you know where it is?
Easily overlooked in death.
I'm Dorothy Gale from Kansas.
But part of Hollywood history.
Just walking out beside the white thing right there.
Bill Ward knows
right here.
Every frame
That's Hildred Olsen.
Of the Munchkinland scene
right here
from The Wizard of Oz.
In the circle.
The 1939 film featuring the same Hildred Olsen who was front and center in the Dassel class of 1931.
She's a true Dasselite.
The volunteer with the Dassel History Center.
We have one photo in 1952.
Has spent the past 2 years.
Hildred made her living as a vaudeville actress.
Delving into the life of Hildred Olsen.
This is one of the most unique photos in American history.
Second oldest of 4 sisters born with dwarfism who grew up in this Dassel home, Hildred jumped at the chance to join fellow Minnesotan,
very close to Julie,
Judy Garland, in The Wizard of Oz.
36 inches made her the smallest munchkin on the stage.
Bill's research
Dassel History Center
will be the basis for a new exhibit.
Here she is.
Including a recreation of Hildred's Wizard of Oz costume.
She probably is the most viewed Dassel resident that has or will ever live.
Carolyn Holge, museum director,
yeah,
is probably right.
Hildred is right here in the circle.
But Hildred didn't live long enough to know the extent of it. Hildred died before The Wizard of Oz gained iconic status during annual television rebroadcast.
She died in 58. I would have probably been about 15 years old.
Mary Kauser is Hildred's grandniece.
If she was living today, she would be utterly amazed at how many years that movie has been played and people have watched it.
In 2007, the Munchkins got their own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Hildred missed it all.
Hildred's obituary failed to even mention the movie. And that meager stone.
We knew right away we need to do better.
Which brings us here.
I'm etching Hildred Olsen.
The museum could not have landed a better wizard of granite than Julie Gustafson.
I bet I've seen it 150 times.
The movie and the Munchkins.
It's childhood memories, it's all that attachment to it.
And the yellow brick road on which today rides a truck.
From 1958 overdue, yes.
Here it comes.
With a stone and a base.
She looks great.
Intentionally the same height as Hildred.
I think she'd say that's pretty cool.
Hildred Olsen may have been largely forgotten, but there's no place like home to finally get it right.
Oh, they'll find her. You bet.
What a moving story that was.
Yeah, that was cute.
Yeah.
Well, sticking with the Hollywood theme, the white Princess Leia gown that Carrie Fisher wore in the Star Wars A New Hope in 1977 is going up for auction. So it's estimated to sell for up to $2 million when bidding closes on June 28th. It's reportedly the only Princess Leia costume known to still exist from the original film. So costume designer John Mallow created the gown and went on to win an Oscar in 1978 for his work on the film.
Beautiful. We love a good auction story here. And now to a bizarre story here. The Ellsworth Cheese Curd Festival gets underway today, and there will be lots of cheese to smile about. Now, for the 22nd year, the cheese curd capital of Wisconsin will be celebrating one of their most famous delicacies. Now, the festival is on Friday and Saturday and will include 15 cheese curd vendors, cheese curd tasting events, and a cheese curd eating contest. The executive director of the Ellsworth Area Chamber of Commerce says the Cheese Curd Festival is an important part of the community. And frankly, this to me sounds like something Rose Nyland from the Golden Girls would talk about. Her cheese, her love for cheese, and all things cows and dairy. Each year, the festival features a signature cheese curd, and this year, it is Nacho Supremo. Delicious. Thank you all so much for sticking with us all week. Have a great weekend.